Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here. Welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am truly grateful to be here. And where is here this week? It's in Chicago. You know, I'm very lucky that every month I get to spend 2 or 3 days with some of the greatest entrepreneurs on the planet. I call them gratitude entrepreneurs. And I'm so inspired by being around them and being with them during this time. It's truly a great blessing in my life. You know, when I started talking about Meaningful Mondays, it's been over 18 months now, and we haven't missed a Monday yet, so I'm very grateful for that as well. But, you know, it started out with the whole objective of how do we make life more meaningful? How do we make each day and each week meaningful? And as I've thought about this, you know, part of meaningfulness is really understanding what drives us. What is that force that really drives us forward, that cause that's bigger than ourselves, that meaningful future that's out there, and how do we get to it? Let me ask you a question. Who do you talk to the most? Who do you have the most conversations with? You know, as I've asked this conversation of many people, a lot of times the answer is very simply, well, my spouse. Or they might say a business partner. But usually it's their spouse, and they say probably overall the person I talk to the most is my spouse. But think about it. Think about it. The person that you talk to the most is yourself. There's a conversation going on with yourself almost every second of the day, the waking day, and even part of the nighttime day, more than anything else. And if we could peek in and listen to that conversation, what would be our assessment? What would we think as we listened in on that conversation? Would we think, wow, that person is rude. Does he really talk to somebody that way? He's always putting that person down. He's always questioning himself. He's questioning his motives. He's doubting himself. He's finding everything that he does wrong. He's so critical. The reality is that as we this conversation with ourselves is very important, but the nature of the conversation is what makes it so important. How we actually have that conversation with that person. Talking with yourself often and deeply is not an easy task, but there's no shortcut nor shortcuts to understanding what makes us tick, what makes you tick. You have to take the time to ask yourself questions. Your answers most likely will not come overnight. Your subconscious mind will answer you when it is ready to answer you. But as you evolve and have new experiences, you'll start to get those answers. That's why it's so important that you consciously invest the time to talk to and to listen to your inner self as you move along the way. There is a cause and a purpose that's out there, and knowing what makes you happy. And by happy, I'm going to just say, let's talk about what makes you joyous, because I think happiness is maybe a temporary state of mind. It requires some event to happen. But let's talk about purpose and meaningfulness. The first step is really understanding what are the things that make you happy. What are those things that are most meaningful to you? I wonder, why do people go through their whole life without considering that? What are those things that make me happiest? What are those things that give me the greatest joy? And having a conversation with yourself about that. It's tough work. Actually, not just because our modern culture of tweets and blogs and emails and Facebook kind of extinguish our time for deep reflection, but because these are tough questions. They're not easy to answer. But if you never ask them, though, you'll never even start to get the answer. That journey will never even begin. But the journey itself may be the answer. If you can find what you love and then do it, your success is guaranteed, because every day pursuing what you care about will fulfill you. It'll give you meaningfulness. Don't let others fool you. Don't let that societal pressure fool you into thinking that your goals are financial success or power or fame or other empty concepts which you benchmark yourself against others. You'll be like a hamster running around on whatever they call that thing, that wheel that just never quite reaches anything, never reaches any milestones. Now, this advice seems obvious, but how often do we compare ourselves to others? And I'm tempted along the journey to frequently compare myself to others. But as I search for my true north, as I search for those things that are more meaningful to me, as I have those deep talks with myself, to allow myself to consciously daydream, to let our thoughts and consciousness take us to wherever they may be. That conversation with ourself gives us power. allows us to move into new places that we've never before. So talk to yourself along the road. And as you commit yourself to excellence and to aiming high, there are going to be times that you fall. And sometimes that fall will hurt a lot. And at those times when you talk with yourself, it's more important that as you talk to yourself that you love yourself. Cut yourself some slack. Be comfortable making mistakes as long as you learn from them. Always make your learning greater than the experience. Don't be afraid to keep climbing and falling. For failures and the lessons we draw from them most often precede our greatest successes. So my challenge for you to have a meaningful week this week is to focus on the conversations that you have with yourself. Are you asking yourselves the right question? Are you listening? Are you allowing your conscious mind to go to work for you? What are those things that will give you the greatest joy and provide the most meaning to you? Identify them. Converse with your inner self and let them express themselves. That will help you make life more meaningful. I commit to being more conscious about it this week, and I suggest and challenge you to be more conscious about it also. Have a meaningful week. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.